Welcome to COB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharvana Raghavan.
Priya, we spoke in detail about market research. We'd like to change tracks for a little bit and talk to you about career. You have, the prized uh, title of CEO in front of your name.
Yes.
So therefore, a lot of the marketers, sales guys, etc., aspire to be there where you are, where you've reached. So just tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a CEO.
Yeah. So, if y'all can catch this YouTube video, and this is a great friend called Mohit Gupta who started this book club called FROB, Friends of Books.
Okay.
And very early on, and he said, Priya, I'm doing this thing in Bombay. Would you come and share a book that you like? And my God, it was like paralysis. Which book? What book? But something happened. I picked up this book called Jesus, the CEO. And when I did that talk, I was trembling because I said, when I joined Ormax, I had no idea I would be the CEO someday. How do you know? I did know. And here I am today, so many years later. And I picked up this book on one trip to Allahabad somewhere at bookstore, and I picked this book up, an interesting book, where you're talking about being the CEO and you're mixing it up with religion. And I'm a Christian. And I said, oh God, what can I learn from Jesus to help me help my life? And when I picked this book, this book has got many chapters. Yeah. And I always believe that you have to answer for people, what's in it for me? And today I knew you would ask me this question, and was reflecting back on my life and my early days when I joined Ormax. When Bispi Doctor gave me the job, I said, yeah, it's going to be fun. And after 2 years, I was thoroughly bored out of my skull. How many more FGDs and DIs can you do and get excited every day?
Yeah.
And I said, dude, I think I should go back before my mom really says, what are you doing with life? With South Indians, the preoccupation with education and career and all of that, right? So I was supposed to be a counselor by profession because I did psychology, and that was my true love. And I said, am I making a mistake over here? Right? Of course, I wanted to apply. I want to understand how can what I studied to my work. Okay, because this is fantastic. But after 2 years, this is not it's more of the same. And I think I had decided that I'm going to talk to Wispy after my last group, that I think I'm going to call it quits. Somehow he read my mind. Yeah, he's so bloody damn good. He must be he said, what's going on? I said, no, I can't handle this anymore. I don't think so. I can come from tomorrow. It's almost there. And he said, what's bothering you? I said, I do not understand this. Your groups, your DIs, and it's never ending. And then somebody's writing some presentation and something is happening. I don't understand this. Is there something more? Why did you start this business? It's what I asked him. I remember this. Why did you start this? And he said, you're getting this all wrong. We're not in the market research business. Okay, I know Sharman said, what the hell? He said, look at all of this. These are just tools and techniques, correct? To understand the consumer.
Yeah.
And therefore, he said, bring in all your knowledge and education that you have done so far. Your psychology that you have studied, your literature, ancient Indian culture, all your history, all of that has to be bought in. It has to get blended. Because this is being used by brands. This is being used for strategic thinking. Product, marketing, communication, positioning, retail. You don't understand this now, but that's the journey. And therefore, it took me 10 years of only delving into that. It just changed. It just changed. But ask the question, why am I doing this? I could be gardening or fishing or doing something else, right? And therefore, there was a commitment after that. that I am applying my knowledge, I'm applying my education. The psychology is about the application part, which I always wanted. The groups and then the depth interviews just became a tool, right? If I didn't do that, I would not be able to understand, right? And therefore, I had to learn those skills. I had to learn conversation skills. I had to learn body language, which I had learned. I also learned, I went into deeper into that, understanding nonverbal, developing and honing my observation skills, my listening skills. And there is never an end to it. And it all got challenged during COVID as well, where we were so happy who are doing it offline. How do you take that to online? How do you teach your people that the same skills can be applied online a little differently? How has qual research changed? Today, it is not about that, you have this thing and then you talk and all of that. There's a human in front of you, right? So what's empathy quotient over there? Where is the humanness part of it? I always believe today, people, the old school would say that you should never talk about yourself, right? In the interviews.
Yeah.
I challenge that. You bring in an aspect of yourself in the interview.
Okay.
There's a human at the end, right? You're Sudeep and I'm Priya. And suddenly I say, I want to talk to you, right? But if you just said, hey, listen, I thought it was very interesting, Sudeep, and, we have common interests. I just give you an aspect, a sliver. But then you're connecting at a human to human level.
So that we can connect better. Yeah.
Of course. We're not robots or something.
Yeah.
There is a humanness in this entire work. And therefore, your skills, if it's mastery, and if you take the analogy of the Japanese guys, right? If you, and I learned shibori. I just went for one workshop with my daughter, and my God, that is such a painful process. 13, 12 hours we were learning. And I went back and checked the artisan who learns shibori does that for 22 years.
Okay. What is shibori about?
Shibori is the Japanese craft of tie and dye, and the whole, it's blue in color, but there is a particular process to get those patterns.
Okay.
Yeah? And I said, my God, 11 hours we got completely tired. Just imagine that guy doing that day after day, day after day. What's mastery?
Right.
What is mastery? And I think that is very important to tell. And I know that from my sports days also. My coach said, listen, boss, go and putt the shot every day. Putt the shot in the corner 100. Yeah, you just did it because the coach knew you damn well, right?
Yeah.
And you just listened to your coach.
I get the point that you need to go through the boring phases.
Yeah.
And you got to endure through it and find a reason to endure through it to get to mastery.
Yeah.
I go back to your conversation with Wispy Doctor.
Yes.
There were two factors that could have helped you. I want to know which one had a bigger say in the way you moved forward. Was it about understanding what you were contributing to, or was it that you were not wasting your skills you picked up in your education and you're going to be able to use it? If both work, which one was more?
I think the first one, I felt I was going to contribute to something larger and bigger because he was building his car, right? And I just latched onto the opportunity. What better way to learn how to build a brand and a company? I said, okay, you know what you're doing? I'm on.
Nice.
That's all.
Awesome.
That's all it took. Yeah.
In fact, if we visit the concept of ikigai, right, it talks about what is the unique thing you can provide to the world, where you can add value, what is of interest to you, and what is it unique enough so that people will pay for it.
Absolutely.
So I think if you start finding value in what you're doing and you bring all your skills and yourself to it, then it starts becoming a magical combination.
Absolutely.
So I think from somebody young who is looking at Priya and saying the journey to CEO, these are some of the things to possibly think about. Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you really interested in it? Are you bringing your entire self into it?
Yeah.
As Priya said, she possibly took a decade to perfect the art of doing this, and then possibly in the next decade to kind of helping people perfect that art, because you start becoming responsible for other people who are going to do this as a career. And that possibly charts your course from being a young, nubile, impressionable professional to possibly becoming a CEO at some stage.
Brilliant.
And Sleep, you triggered another thought in my mind. And that's the reason I went to MRSI, the Market Research Society of India.
Hmm.
I mean, they didn't call me. I just walked one day and said, what can I do? Because I'm part of this fraternity. And they were not doing anything big.
Hmm.
I remember meeting Sandeep Saxena and he just passed away, but what a journey with him for 8 years.
Hmm.
I just went to the office first to check whether there was an office. I couldn't believe there was an MRSI office. I was like big skeptic like that. Then I went there, it looked disappointing. It looked like a government office. So I had my nose up in the air and I said, okay, you want young people to join research. Okay, fantastic. These were the thoughts. And he picked up each of those thoughts, by the way. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We just became very good friends. And I said, what can I do? He said, just join. And I loved it because I realized that I'm cut out to build brands. And that is what I learned with Wispy and Ormax, correct? And I brought all of that to MRSI. And we left it at such a good place. The office that I did like that, it's a swank office.
Nice.
And we created so many things and we developed so many things and such a joy to give back, right? Which I believe that there's so much richness that we can bring because we are building brands and businesses. And that is what the industry body should be doing. And that's what we did. And we left it in a good place. And I think they can just go upwards and onwards.
One thing stands out from what you're saying, Priya, from both your instances with Ormax as well as with MRSI. You encountered people who liked what they were doing. They were very confident about what they were doing. Today, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who are fascinated by the concept of entrepreneurship. And they start out just out of college. We do hear stories of people who drop out of college and do exceedingly well. But I see a lot of them not exactly equipped to deal with what they've kind of bitten off. And they struggle to inspire a team around themselves because they're still figuring it out themselves. So is there a time or is there a kind of experience you need before you start up your own business?
I can only talk about myself, okay, because I've only worked with Ormax. But I have introspected on this. I remember when I joined Ormax, okay, I had two options, right? I had to go and do my MBA or I had to go and do my counseling, correct? And then when I got into this, I wanted a vocation course. So there I went to SNDT college. I did my consumer behavior and marketing. Again, blending. I didn't know I was doing all of this, but what gave me a kick at that time with the SNDT college is the vice chancellor said that, I'm creating this curriculum. I'm building something. Do you want to help? And I love this. I think basically academics, career and all that. Then I went to Ormax. Again, the same thing, correct? I'm helping Wispy build some, right? And in my own journey of evolution. I realized that I really committed to Ormax. I think 5 years into my work life. 5 or 6 years. Because Wispy asked me a very tough question at the interview. What about loyalty? They said, I don't know what loyalty means. I only know one thing. I have to like you and you have to like me. Otherwise, this ain't going anywhere, brother. And I was so clear because it had to be with the person. I had to be challenged, intellectual conversations, what I was doing, because I didn't come out of a unequalness. I came as equal. I didn't know what that was. That's fine. But it's not that I had not seen the world before I came to Ormax. Okay. And I knew my skill sets. Maybe I knew what. So I didn't know loyalty. I said, let's see how it goes. But after 2 years, remember that moment that I told you. Once he told me, I said, I'll give myself another 2 years, 3 years. But after that, I knew this was it. This was something that I could make a career out of, a profession out of it. I could see myself what I am today, right? And therefore, I could work towards building that. And that's when, you feel good about it. Like today, when I can talk about it, it is that stint. Like I always tell people that at possibly at 20, I must be thinking that what I would have been at 30. When I was 30, possibly, I was thinking what I was going to be at 40. What I can tell people is that don't wait for 40 to happen. Start thinking at 35 what the 40 is going to be like. At around 45, start thinking what your 50 is going to look like. Right? And therefore, it takes time, right? Your habits have to change, your behavior has to change, what you're going to invite. And therefore, conscious choice of saying, how is this career going to be? How is my reputation going to be? What is it that I need to do? Yeah. And therefore, come to terms with that because that's a career, right? You asked me career,
Right.
career management. That was,
Yeah.
and that's how I looked at it. And another book, may I say, that I think was super, super helpful. And I really thank Chandramouli for it. The Catalyst.
The catalyst. Yeah.
And I worked with him in Asian Paints Day, again a junior. I remember traveling with him. I worked with him at Pidilite. Again, he traveled. He is not an armchair consultant. One thing I realized is you've got to meet your consumer. You've got to go to the market. Okay? And nothing comes easy. And that book, The Catalyst, was what am I going to do for my second innings? And we, in fact, Vismi Doctor, and they are great friends, and he had invited him to talk to us because we do every quarter something called the presentation contest.
Okay.
Barring the MD, everybody participates because we believe in communication, honing our skills, right? And when he came, he said, what is your second innings going to be like? You have to think about why did he write that book? It's such an easy book, and I did go through that, and that too helped me. Yeah.
Right.
And
Okay. Excellent. Now, Priya, this is a topic which is often spoken about. I'm not sure whether corporates have solved for it, but something that possibly I would like your opinion on. Women professionals, especially, go through these phases where their profession as well as family needs them a lot. And they have some tough calls to make, some tough coordinations to do, etc. There are various theories about it. We have heard Indra Nui speak about it, and various other illustrious women leaders speak about it. Now, since we have some young women professionals who might be listening to this podcast, what would be your advice to them? How should they think about it? How should they navigate that phase? What has worked for you, and therefore something that you can offer?
yeah. So a couple of things. I call myself the CEO mom. I have a 21-year-old. I always believes it takes a village to raise a child. Okay. And I'm not saying that everybody should have children or get married. I'm not saying. You can't do things on your own. Women have a problem. They don't ask for help. What? You've been told that you have to run the world, juggle, and I don't know what else. Right? Therefore, there has to be that understanding among women that you can't do it on your own. You have to ask for help. You don't have to be a martyr. You don't have to constantly adjust. You have to look after yourself. It's only when you look after yourself, you can look after your family, right? Therefore, there's a lot of neglect across the board, whether it's senior to SSC A strata to whatever. Skipping meals, not looking after yourself, putting the family first, all of that. So one has to look at it in a very holistic manner.
Okay.
Right? I always tell women, because you're talking from a professional scenario, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have decided to be a profession and you've taken up a career, please stop having guilt.
Yeah.
If you're having guilt, stay at home. Straight away. There is no either or.
Yeah.
There's no and in this. Correct? If you have decided this, then work out what is the best approach and method.
Okay.
I had a working mom. I never felt neglected. She spent quality time. So then there were priorities. I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, I can't try and do everything possible, right? If you feel you're working, you don't have to cook every square meal. Get a cook. Outsource every damn thing. And then control that. That's what your professional life would teach you, right? You're a good manager. And therefore, quality time for yourself and your family. And I think that has to be thought through, taught. And maybe corporates could have those conversations. For example, a lady that I look up to is Apurva Purohit.
Yeah. Lady or a boss.
Why is she coming out with that? Because she herself has held different roles, right? Now, what is important is be able to think that what is required. And therefore go about doing that.
Hmm.
And why complicate matters for no reason? Yeah.
Hmm.
And if you need to take a break and look after your family, look after your children, do that and then come back to it.
Hmm.
The one thing that you asked me is what is the solution for corporates to take back women who have taken a sabbatical? We
Hmm.
haven't done that. We almost feel that, array, now what, she's been no use, she's been a mother, brains have got rusted, whatever else. I don't know what. I don't know
That's
why
a
people
very
think.
that's a very, very, I must say, very pessimistic view of the situation. But
No, but I'm just saying that what are the measures to get these women back into the fold because they do have the intelligence. They may
hmm,
need to maybe upgrade their skills.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think being able to understand that, yeah, I think is the way forward, if you're asking. I don't think so giving enough thought to it. And maybe maybe certain MNC companies do, some don't, and therefore maybe larger corporates in India can do it.
Hmm,
Because we have our percentage of working population women has dropped from 13 to 11.
yeah,
Therefore, we are not really doing good, and maybe that's why I'm sounding a little pessimistic.
possibly, possibly. One of the good practice that I have seen, Priya, in both the companies that I've worked with, is providing returning women a launch pad.
Yes.
So if you were working in marketing, you went out for about a year. When you come back, obviously things have changed, realities have changed,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
Find
Yes.
a role which allows them to acclimatize themselves. Find the new setting because now
Yes.
your realities at home have changed. So like you said, give them time to
Absolutely.
figure out their environment, etc.,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
And then give them the role that they deserve and everything else. But
Yes.
I love the point that you made about the fact that don't have any guilt and ask. Only when you ask will you receive solutions from company, from family, from everywhere else. You don't have to suffer all of it on your own.
Yes. I spent a lot of thought wondering why this 13% has dropped to 11%. See,
Hmm.
that's the only thing I can do, right? Because that's my profession.
Yeah,
Just try to
yeah,
see why. Data point, right?
okay,
In an economic forum, the women leaders like Faye D'Souza, some other, the SBI lady, Mrs. Bhattacharya was there also.
G,
So she did something where she found that, women drop off when the children ninth and 10th, which are
yeah,
critical years, and
correct.
then 11th and 12th. That's one reason. And the other thing is when they have in-laws who are aged. It
Hmm.
almost is supposed that they're supposed to take care of.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is. And no matter what you say, and it is the truth. Correct?
Hmm. Hmm.
Therefore, she found that when they were doing that, so the same thing what you said, Sudeep, how do you get them back?
Hmm.
How do you get them back? Can I give them a different role? Can
Hmm.
I use that, intelligence?
Hmm.
And therefore, that launch pad, I love the word, the launch pad. And I think that forward thinking is required for very big companies. I'm not saying everybody. Take a Pidilite, take a Mondelez, take a Asian Paints. We have so many big companies who have that ethos,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Unilever is also. And if that 10 companies, which I say a minority group starts that, then it starts moving. Yeah.
They
Agreed.
are pretty much the thought leaders, right? Then
Yeah.
permeates to
Yes.
the different
Yes.
levels.
Yes. And there are women over there who are managing families. I know Anila Vinayak,
Hmm.
okay, she spoke last year where she had to take a break.
Hmm.
So many things happening. But when she came back, it was a tough one to get back, right?
Yeah,
And therefore, companies need to acknowledge it and do something. I'm more than happy to help. I love creating things which are forward looking. Yeah. And I think even for guys, right? Guys don't take paternity leave. They have to look after the baby. Where is all this? Right. And therefore it gets so much more tougher.
correct.
Yeah.
So, Priya, I'm just getting back to your career a little bit here.
Yeah, sure.
You touched upon what kind of convinced you to stay in the career of research. So, for somebody starting up, marketing, advertising, that's very clear about what they should do to get there. But nobody really discusses market research as a profession and trains for it. So, I have two questions here.
Yeah.
How do they know this is for them? And two, how do they prep themselves for a career in market research?
I think that's the question that we also were grappling with at MRSI.
Mhm.
So one of the things that we started thinking is that we need to go to colleges and universities Just as you have a clear discipline of marketing and finance, there is no clear-cut course available, right? I think MICA does a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
Oh,
have a module.
yeah.
They do have a module, and therefore the MICANs, any MICAN that you work with, their attitude to consumer behavior research and if they're CMOs is so different. Yeah,
Mhm.
because they have been inducted into that very, very early on.
Hmm.
And I think that's what MRSI has been working on. I really don't know. I know SMR, which is the European body as
Mhm.
well, has taken this on. Because you see, if you're not at the universities, if you're not part of the conversation at a very younger level, how do you know that this can be your career profession?
Exactly.
So all the veterans that I spoke to say they stumbled upon this career.
Hmm.
I said, man, why people have to still stumble upon, is it afterwards also? They love me because I bring a fresh perspective. That's what people tell me.
Yeah.
I really don't know, but I do. And I said, why are we doing this? Why are we not telling people that there is a step that you need to do? It
Mhm.
takes X number of years to do this. It takes X number of years to do that. What is the training that is required? I think there's a long way. I think they're doing bits and bobs. It's going to come together. But I think this is the need of the hour. Like, you tell me if somebody was in college, would they even think of this as a career?
They wouldn't even know
No.
of it, right?
No,
They don't know about it.
it's a subject in my marketing course,
Correct.
market research. It's a chapter.
It's a chapter.
At
Yeah.
best, you'd have psychology in one stream and statistics in another.
Yeah. And luckily, what's happening, which I'm doing, is many of these colleges now have an internship, correct?
Mhm.
Hmm. Hmm.
And a lot of, I would say, friends and clients have a lot of the kids in these kind of colleges where internship is now mandatory, correct?
Hmm.
Like, for example, there's this young girl who's doing a BSc in economics. And someone who I know said that, can you give her an internship? I said, sure. So she's doing a 4-week internship. But what she's learning is how research can help a thing,
Hmm.
correct? And that's what I can provide. And therefore, I've started doing it in a very small manner within Ormax, because MRSI is doing what MRSI is doing. But I think there's room for really getting down to college levels, which is my plan actually, right? That's the only way. That's the only way. Even
But-
designers as well, right? How do you bring design and consumer together?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, suppose there are young professionals or maybe college grads who are listening to us today. Right now, because of this podcast, many of them would have become aware that there is this career stream called consumer marketing research or marketing
Consumer
research.
research, yeah.
Consumer
Yeah,
research
behavior.
that I can get to.
Hmm.
Now, if many of them are wondering whether it is for them or not, what would be
Yeah.
your 2 or 3 things that if this is true, you should explore this career? What would you say?
Aptitude level.
Yeah. I think people were high level of curiosity.
Hmm.
Yeah. Again, somebody who has studied like social sciences, which is very, it's also science, right?
Hmm.
So that's very important. What do you do with all that studying? How do you apply that? Yeah.
Hmm.
So there's room for that in qualitative research for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the third thing that I would say is that there are people who love. So this is very important. A very important deciding factor if you like this profession is especially qualitative research. Is your empathy level.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there are people who don't like to be engaging with people all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying extroverts and introverts and all that. I don't subscribe to that. But this requires a lot of engaging with people, right? Going out on the field, talking to people. And if you can't handle that over a period of time, then don't get it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So these are the 3 things that I feel become like a mandatory thing. Yeah. So, and why get into things if you're not of that, So,
Awesome.
No, excellent. This is a lovely piece on
And if
career.
if somebody wants to reach out to you,
Yes.
what's the best way to reach out to you, Priya?
LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. Or simple, priya.lobo@ormaxworld.com is my email ID. Write to me.
Perfect.
Excellent.
I'm sure
Good.
you'll have a few people reaching out, especially students.
Thank you for listening to COB, Conversations on the Business of Brands with Sudeep Chawla and Sharavana Raghavan. Subscribe and learn more at cobbcast.net. That's COBBCAST.net.